Lindsay Lohan has returned to bless the young millennials with a new holiday rom-com, and if Netflix doesn't want to bother unveiling this gift with the promo tour that it deserves, then I will simply have to do it myself by using my minuscule platform to speak on this with all the praise that it's due. Hi, I'm Lady Genevieve. I am no stranger to getting analytical or even downright critical on my channel when the occasion calls for it, but in order to review a film called Falling for Christmas, what you have to take into account is what the film is intending to do. And from what I saw, this is a film that is trying to make the audience happy. And in particular, if you are someone who has been rooting for Lindsay Lohan to make her comeback and make it out the other side, being happy and well through her various ups and downs, then you in particular are the target audience of this film. If the embargo for Falling for Christmas lifts and my timeline gets flooded with random men posting reviews insulting this movie for being unoriginal or cheesy or whatever else they have to say, then I'm going to take a plate full of gingerbread cookies and throw them at those channels because this movie was not made for you. I rated this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't want to give it 5 just because I'm excited that Lindsay Lohan is back. I wanted to put it in context of the broader Lindsay Lohan filmography. If Freaky Friday is a 5 out of 5 and Georgia Rule is a 3 out of 5, then Falling for Christmas can get a 4 out of 5 from me. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and there were only maybe 1 or 2 nitpicks I had about the film, which I will share in this video, but everything else in it was a truly joyful occasion. I'm going to take you through the viewing experience I had watching Falling for Christmas for the first time. Not a complete play-by-play, of course, because I recently got a press screener for another holiday rom-com, Christmas with You, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. Truly, the 90s and early 2000s icons are having comebacks, and I'm having so much fun with it. But anyway, all this to say, I cannot be here filming for 3 hours straight sharing every single detail of how much fun I had watching Falling for Christmas for the first time. However, that doesn't mean we can't go through some of the highlights. So yes, this is when we will be getting into all of the spoilers. So go ahead and watch the film if you have not already done so, and then you can come back and celebrate Lindsay Lohan's comeback in my comments section. Lindsay Lohan is introduced as Sierra Belmont, a spoiled hotel heiress who doesn't do much for herself. She has an entire team of people to feed her caviar, dress her in racks of designer clothing, and do every tiny menial thing she doesn't know how or doesn't want to do for herself. All I wanted to see in this movie was wacky antics, and I wanted Lindsay and her main love interest to be cute together. Her main love interest is, of course, Jake Russell, the owner of the North Star Lodge, a humble, family-run business that's meant to be like a home away from home. We also meet her current boyfriend, Tad Fairchild, and of course his name is Tad Fairchild. It sounds like the type of name that inspired the construction of hundreds of guillotines. When I finally saw Tad in action, being his ridiculous influencer self, one of the first things that came to mind was confusion. I was just getting a vibe from him. I felt like maybe we were going to get a twist at the end of the film that he was just using her for content for his social media the entire time, and that we were also going to get a reveal that he was not straight. So I wasn't completely wrong in my initial assessment of him, but we will get to that later on in this video. At least in regards to Tad being an influencer, I love that they were making fun of the concept the entire time. That's how I know that they knew their audience. See, oftentimes nowadays when you see influencer characters, you can tell that it was written for Gen Zs in mind, but this man, Tad, he was made to look so ridiculous with his influencer tendencies. I laughed out loud when Sierra's father said about Tad, basically, you're a salesman. He read Tad to filth. And you know what? Tad brought it on himself. Moving on to the main couple though, we need to talk about the not so cute meet cute. Sierra comes out of the elevator wearing the most fabulous outfit. It's the same top that you see in the main poster for the film. It's the one with the giant ruffling sleeves. I love it. It's exquisite, and she's also got the Gucci sunglasses on. She looked so good that I didn't even care that I could see the studio lighting from the film set in her sunglasses. She was absolutely that girl and letting all of us know. But then Jake and her crash into each other, and he accidentally got a bit of whipped cream on her top, and I gasped out loud. You cannot ruin fashion of this caliber, Jake. It's completely unacceptable. But then she gets in the car with her boyfriend, Tad, and she starts serving us self-referential excellence. She starts singing Jingle Bell Rock. Now, me personally, I would have preferred any number of other songs from her filmography or her music career, but this is a Christmas film, so it makes perfect sense that Jingle Bell Rock would be the song that you would have her sing. She also released a new recorded version of this as a holiday single, so feel free to purchase or stream it in order to show even more of your support. And Tad starts telling her that she's doing it wrong. That is excellent timing because we're coming right off of Jake committing a crime against fashion, but telling Lindsay Lohan how to sing Jingle Bell Rock, that easily one-ups Jake's faux pas, and just like that, the audience is rooting for Tad to fail. But I did get joy from this car scene even more because when Tad switches the radio to a different station, do you know what song was playing? All Out of Love by Air Supply. You know I gasped when I heard that because that is a song from The Wedding Date, which is one of my all-time favorite rom-coms, and it's not just something that gets played muffled in the background. It's a song that is brought up and featured in more than one time and place, so hearing it play was a real turning point for me. I knew that I was already invested and having a great time, but that song boosted it even more. A little sidebar about the non-love interest, Tad Fairchild. He is portrayed by George Young, and I did not realize until I looked up the more detailed film trivia that he was in something else that I've seen. The camp classic horror film Malignant. He was the cop that loads of people were thirsting over. Not me, because I don't like cops, but I found it funny that I didn't realize that that was the same actor. When you compare his performance in Falling for Christmas to his performance in Malignant, it's truly transformative. The difference is like night and day. But anyway, Tad takes Sierra up on a mountain in order to propose to her, and when he started doing that, I just started chanting, don't, please don't, because they clearly didn't vibe like that. They had made a point of showing Sierra making faces that conveyed a disconnect in their relationship, but for whatever reason, she accepts the proposal. There is a real Santa in this film whom Jake's daughter makes a wish to, prompting Santa to conjure gale force wind to blow Sierra off the mountain, and she falls fast and hard headfirst into a tree. How is she still alive? Rich people die all the time skiing. I don't care how much fun Queen Latifah had in Last Holiday.
And I ended up on the cover of a ski magazine.
You will never catch me skiing, even if I were to become a multimillionaire. You think you're having a fun time skiing, and all of a sudden your Italian husband is stepping out on you with his ex-girlfriend. Not today, not ever. No skiing. Now, once Jake finds her, because of course it's Jake who finds her, he takes her to the hospital, and once she's woken up, what else would we have but a case of amnesia? What I appreciate though, and I'm not sure how many others who watched the screener of this film will appreciate, is the fact that Jake did not remember that he had briefly met her before. He really didn't know who she was when he offered to let her stay at his lodge. It's natural to hazard a guess when you see the film's trailer that there would be some sort of deception in the film because we as a collective audience have been conditioned to presume the absolute worst after seeing decades of toxic romances in Hollywood films. Jake offered Sierra a place to stay because he's a genuinely nice person. Him being a nice person is a core character trait of his. It's the reason he is able to get donations from past guests of the lodge so that he is able to get out from under the water of the debt of his business. With Sierra not knowing who she is, one can't help but draw comparisons to something like the film Overboard, but this one is less toxic because Jake is not trying to manipulate her or exploit her to get revenge or to get something for his own benefits such as money to save his lodge. If this was an old school rom-com, that's exactly what would have happened, but executive producer Lindsay Lohan is updating the cute holiday rom-com for the 21st century, and we love her for that. Once Sierra has amnesia and she's fully jumping into the whole rich girl doesn't know how to do basic daily tasks thing, that's when we get comedy. She can't crack eggs properly, and I'm sitting here laughing out loud, having the time of my life. She's also wrestling, trying to get the sheet onto the mattress. Physical comedy is such a tricky thing. I feel like it can be underutilized, but also overdone, specifically when it comes to female protagonists. It's usually just them tripping, and that is rarely funny in execution. My point is, I loved that we got to see a bit of physical comedy from Lindsay. The most publicized thing I've seen talked about with this movie is that there was the Easter egg for Mean Girls with the inclusion of Jingle Bell Rock. However, I think that if you squint, you can find Easter eggs from her other films as well. There was a washing machine exploding with bubbles. You're not going to tell me that that's not reminiscent of Just My Luck. Also, her talking to a horse. I know this one is a reach, but I'm going to say it anyway. She did ride horses in The Parent Trap. If they really wanted to stick that particular landing, though, they could have had Sierra inexplicably know French and be surprised that she knows French while she's suffering from amnesia.
Mais tout plaisant, j'espère. Mais on dit c'est pas ça, pas toi. Mais c'est pas possible, Jérôme.
But the Easter egg that was a total missed opportunity was, without question, the dress. When Jake's mother-in-law, Alejandra, well, she's the mother of his dead wife, she gifts Sierra a dress. Obviously, we know before they reveal the dress that it's going to be red. The attention to detail for the production design of this film was very intense. There was so much red and green. It was ridiculous. It's like what I imagine those goofy Hallmark Christmas films to look like, but I never actually sit down and watch most of those. I usually just see the collage of movie posters of them where the woman is dressed in red and the man is dressed in green, because Hallmark dragged their feet to make anything that wasn't straight. So we know Sierra's going to show up looking fabulous in a red dress. Why would you not take the opportunity to do an Easter egg by choosing a design that bears some sort of resemblance to the red dress from Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen? Something with a cute bow on the neckline. Of course, the dress Lindsay actually wore in Falling for Christmas still looked great, but I'm just saying, if we're throwing in Easter eggs, let's not just do an omelet, put together an entire buffet. I will say that I was surprised that it was Santa that gave Jake and Avi the sleigh. I really thought that Sierra was going to buy it for them once she got her memory back and had access to her considerable amount of money. So again, we were subverting expectations. Jake being emotionally mature, and now the sleigh. Love that. In general, I really love that Sierra's money and even her father's money didn't end up being what saved the day. It was her business acumen and people skills that ultimately got things moving in the right direction. She knew that she could just name drop the lodge on television and it would, of course, help them to get more customers. And by helping to do some party planning, people whom he had already won over by simply offering great customer service and kindness in general, would happily help and donate back to him. I wasn't immediately hooked on them as a couple, but over the course of the story, seeing how they gradually became more attracted to each other in a more organic delivery, that was what won me over for them as a couple. Even when Jake snapped at her, he immediately apologized. Seriously, I don't think he had paused for longer than 10 seconds before he was immediately recognizing that he did not handle the situation the way that he should have. He was emotionally mature enough to recognize why he was behaving in the way that he did. Seriously, I just need more writers of rom-coms to recognize that being in touch with and aware of your feelings is attractive. So more of that, please, in your scripts. Before we reach the ending of Jake and Sierra finally getting together, I need to circle back to talk about Tad Fairchild. If you will recall, I said earlier I thought we were going to get a reveal that he was just using Sierra for influencer content and that he wasn't straight. Well, he has this whole subplot of finding refuge with this man, Ralph, who lives out in the woods, I guess. Anyway, I thought they were going to end up together. There is this scene where they're going through the woods because Ralph's car wasn't working. Well, it wasn't a car, it was a truck. You know what I mean. And Tad falls down in the snow because he's a hilarious disaster. And Ralph starts manhandling him in order to put his own snowshoes onto Tad's feet. And Tad gets this look on his face and he says to Ralph, You're so strong. And Tad was impressed when Ralph said that he has big feet, and then Ralph winks at him? What other conclusion was I supposed to come to other than those two are going to be boyfriends? I was so let down when Tad made it back to society and was seemingly so ready to just drop Ralph. So I couldn't help but ask myself, is this viewing experience going to be tarnished by a smattering of queer baiting? But hold on. Wait just a minute. I spoke too soon. Because after Sierra ends her engagement to Tad, what does Tad do? He asks out a man named Terry to be his date for New Year's Eve. That's right, the real plot twist reveal is that Tad was not just some scummy influencer. He is a beautiful, funny, considerate, bisexual person who spends too much time on social media. And yes, I said considerate. He asked Sierra if it was okay to post about the breakup for content. He got her permission. That was very considerate. Do you think the Gen Z influencers have that much consideration during the dissolution of their romantic entanglements? You can be the judge of that. So Jake goes up to the fancy resort to try to do his big romantic confession of his feelings for Sierra, and of course, she feels the same. But when they have their obligatory PG-rated kiss, because it's the end of the movie, I was watching it play out, and I couldn't help but ask, what is with all these lens flares? Can we calm down, J.J. Abrams? But then they were doing these close-ups of their faces, and I had to stop and ask, what is this? What am I looking at? That's not Lindsay Lohan. So I stopped, and I rewound, and I played it again, paused, and it was painfully obvious that they were trying to hide the fact that this was not Lindsay Lohan doing the final kiss. And I don't know what the reason for that is. Maybe someone was under the weather, or someone had some other personal reason for not wanting to partake in this kiss. Fine, I'm not going to nitpick why that happened, but what I will nitpick is how weird it looked in the final product. If any of you have ever seen that Alexa Vega movie, Sleepover, that part where she's looking at her crush for the first time in the film and you see him do a skateboard trick, except it's not the actor doing the trick, it's a stunt double with a house of wax-looking mold of the actor's face covering his own face. Well, imagine that, except the shot is not far away from the performer doing a trick. The shot is up close. The camera is right on the person's face. If you're not going to have your leads kiss and you're doing a double, either put the money up for quality VFX to change the face, or just do one of those spinning shots where the camera is going all the way around the couple and pull back enough so that you don't see their faces up close. It was just an unfortunate conclusion to the main arc of the story, but they ended up winning me right back over because they put bloopers in the credits. I have talked about this before on my channel very recently, actually, in my review of the new Julia Roberts, George Clooney rom-com Ticket to Paradise, which was fabulous, by the way, and that film had bloopers in the credits. I feel like there are some people in Hollywood who are finally delivering what I have been wanting to see come back in the movies. More rom-coms, bloopers in the credits, and the pop culture icons of decades past are making comebacks in entertainment media. Lindsay Lohan and Freddie Prinze Jr. are doing new rom-coms that are dropping this month. All of us should be celebrating. So yes, overall, I had so much fun watching this movie. This is probably going to be a new go-to film for me to put on when I want something playing while I'm needing to de-stress. It was cute, it was fun, and I look forward to Lindsay being able to get back in the swing of things and do more movies or whatever types of projects she would like to do. She should absolutely go for it. Even if I personally am partial to seeing her do more fun ones, if she decides that she wants to do something really dramatic and hard-hitting, she should absolutely do that. Seeing her overcome so many challenges with so much awful, toxic scrutiny placed on her by the media and the masses and make it out the other side, it's just so nice, and I really appreciate how supportive people have been towards her. When I looked up the trailer for Falling for Christmas, the comment section on YouTube was full of wonderfully positive, encouraging, and celebratory comments from people saying how happy they were for Lindsay Lohan to be back and how much joy she has brought to them at the various stages of their life while they were growing up. Lindsay apparently has a multi-film deal with Netflix, and I don't know if she just has one more film to do as part of that deal or if there's a few more. Either way, I look forward to watching whatever she releases next. And final point of trivia, Lindsay's younger sister is also in this movie, Falling for Christmas. She plays one of the stylists at the big fancy resort, so keep an eye out for that if you've not already watched the film and you've somehow decided to listen to me spoil all of it up until this point. Thank you everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments which Lindsay Lohan film is your favorite. Mine is probably Freaky Friday because her and Jamie Lee Curtis served comedy excellence, and also her band in that film, the soundtrack, hello, Take Me Away, ultimate, nothing but certified bops across the board. Feel free to subscribe since another new review is coming today. That's right, 2 Netflix films have their embargoes lifting on the same day, so that is usually what determines when I publish new reviews of their stuff. So see you then, bye.